Hey, what's up guys? This is Akshay from AS Learning, and today in this video we'll be seeing about the top 5 best prompts for developers. Okay. ChatGPT is not a new thing. Generative AI is not a new thing in the tech industry. ChatGPT is being used by almost everyone these days. Instead of doing Google or going on Stack Overflow for your queries, people directly ask it to ChatGPT, right? Normally asking it to ChatGPT and having the arsenal of the right prompts and then using those prompts to generate the best result from ChatGPT is a skill which generally they call as prompt engineering. Okay, having the best set of prompts to get the best results from these LLMs. Okay, and in this video we'll be seeing about the top 5 ways or a top 5 prompting way. Like I won't say prompting ways, but it is just like the top 5 best prompts for developers to get the best out of ChatGPT. Okay, not the prompting ways, but just the top 5 best prompts. Okay, so let's go with the first prompt. Okay, so this is regarding code debugging assistance. Okay, let's say if you write a code and it is giving you an error, what is the first thing which you do? You go on Google or maybe you go on Stack Overflow. Before going there, you try to debug it on your own. Okay, this is the traditional way in which every dev does it. Okay, what you can do is just copy paste your code and give it a prompt like this, like given a Python code snippet that's causing an error, explain the issue and suggest a solution to fix the problem. You can use this prompt for every code which is erroneous, okay, which is giving error. Okay, so let's see what output you get if you pass it to your chat gpt. Okay, now this is my code. I am opening my chat gpt window. This is, I pasted my erroneous code and I will be copy pasting my prompt. Okay, so instead of Python, if you are a JavaScript developer or maybe a data engineer who uses SQL or PySpark, just make the required changes. Okay, and boom, you get a very proper fixed code. Okay, so this is a prompt, I'll say, which you can use for code debugging assistance. Okay, now what's the next prompt? Okay, now the next thing is algorithm and data structures explanation. Okay, algorithm and data structures is used a lot into generally into product based companies where optimization and time and space complexity is a very important thing. Like scaling is also a very important thing where you need to handle lots of users, right? So at that time such things come handy. Okay, so not just algorithm and data structures, it is also about like every general topic. Okay, if let's say what was the traditional way, you would go on Google maybe, and or you would go on or maybe some PDF or any read a book. Okay, instead of that, like whatever like whatever algo or whatever data structure which you need to have explanation or maybe a quick recap on it, instead of going to the documentation on Google of that thing, just use this prompt and it will give you a very beautiful and a very clear and a brief answer to your asked query, right? So here I've asked him regarding linked list. Okay, so I don't have to go to a YouTube video and see a 15-20 minutes of linked list explanation or go through some 2-3 links. You can just enter like whatever concept you need, a fresh recap. Okay, and it will give you a brief answer regarding your concept. Okay, now let's go to the next prompting thing. Now the next prompting thing is code optimization guidance. Whenever you write a code, but we know that that there is always a better way to do it, right? Where you can reduce the complexities. Okay, right? Now in this way, in this prompt, we will be seeing how to optimize your current code. Okay, so this is my existing code, right? Which I wrote for reversing a string. Okay, so here I'm copy pasting my code, and let's say if I want to optimize it, I'll be passing it the prompt that review the provided code and suggest the optimization to make it more efficient in terms of time complexity. Okay, and it is giving me a very optimized not only a optimized code, but also it is explaining me that where it was going wrong. So in this way you can do code optimizations, and this prompt can come handy a lot. Okay, so what are the things we saw code debug assistance, we saw explanation or a fresh recap of a topic which you need while development. We also saw code optimization. Okay, so the three of the very useful prompts in in association with these three things I've given in the slide. Now next is the fourth thing. Okay, now the fourth thing is understanding technical documentation. Okay, let's say if you have a docs file or maybe some technical documentation, it's boring and it is also very tenuous. Okay, to go through these things, and even the documentations are not very brief. Okay, now what to do in such cases? Okay, now let's say I'll take an example of k nearest neighbor. Now these are all the prompts, and it is very frustrating to read all these things because each word has a huge impact on the thing, and they just give some small explanation. Okay, so maybe what you can do is you can copy paste the entire documentation part. Now here I'm doing it with a text, right? You also get the option of uploading the file. Okay, currently I am not upgraded to plus, that's why I cannot upload the file, but there are plugins and these things where you can straight away upload your documentation file as well. Okay, so here I copy pasted my documentation, and then I'm using my prompt that now, because it's a machine learning prompt, I'm telling it that you are an expert machine learning engineer, please explain me this documentation. Okay, and with this thing, boom, you will be getting a detailed documentation version of the one which was being passed. Okay, now let's say if in this case at least I had few of the information here. Okay, but let's say I just, if let's say in some documentation that there is no very clear and crisp understanding of these parameters. Okay, now sklearn's k nearest classifier is a very well documented file, so you have a certain documentation, but some fresh packages, they don't have documentation, right? Now recently, I think in my last to last video I was using a package where it was regarding d3 blocks. Okay, and there was a function named import examples, and I couldn't find its documentation neither in the official documentation page or nor or any Google or not, and not even ChatGPT was being helpful there because there was so much less content. Okay, yeah, but now let's say if in some cases, now in my case, even ChatGPT was unable to do it, so hence I had to go into the code and understand it my own. But in some cases, not in some cases, but in many cases, you will find that in a somewhat popular library, you will be able to generate a documentation on your own also. Now let's say if I just copy pasted this thing, and I told my k nearest and I told my GPT 3.5 model that please, you are a machine learning expert engineer, please explain me these parameters. Okay, instead of explaining the documentation, I'll just change the word, explain these parameters, and in a simple language as compared to the documentation, you will be having a detailed parameter explanation, right? Isn't it good? It is just like it is eliminating the need for documentation only.